What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. Welcome back to my segment on my channel called Classic Albums Revisited. It has been 6 months since I reviewed the previous album on this segment, which was Rainbows Rising. I would like to apologise immensely that I was originally going to review the album last week, but the weather kept changing and the picture quality on my webcam looks like crap. But I am here to review the debut studio album from one of my favourite bands of all time, Portishead, entitled Dummy. Dummy was released on August the 22nd, 1994, released on the London-based record label at the time, Go Beat Records. The band produced the album as well as with the heavy contribution work and involvement of future member of Portishead, Adrian Utley. As I talked about trip hop before when I reviewed DJ Shadow's classic debut of Introducing, which will be 30 years old this year, completely mad to think about that. The trip hop genre is an all-time favourite for me because of what I said previously, with the sound to be so distinctive and unique and the separate personality of the sounds. The 1990s had been a completely big stylistic arrangement of what we think of sound through multiple bands in rock to metal, and with some more of the experimentalism genres like industrial rock, and with the rise of breakbeat. The trip hop genre is one of my biggest favourites from the decade, and this album is absolutely no exception to that. This album has been known as one of the top most important albums in the genre, alongside with the aforementioned DJ Shadow's debut of Introducing, and also Massive Attack's album Mezzanine. Their debut album, Blue Lines, had been known as one of those pioneering albums to grow the genre of the popular style of music to critical acclaim for the public, and Dummy to me is one of my 10 favourite debut albums of all time, along with Massive Attack's debut album. The way this album's being constructed has been completely mind-blowing. It was not used digitally whatsoever. They decided to not only make their own original music and just call it a trip-hop album for the sake of it. It was a trip-hop album because it was made with more than a few things. There were loads of records used through a lot of this album's creation, different records from the separate genres outside of trip-hop, like with some psychedelic stuff to soul and acid jazz, and they had to use these techniques of these loops to scratching and sample these pieces of sounds and combine them with the music that Portishead had been creating. Before I get started with the track-by-track parts on the lyrical content, I have done my best with the research. There are loads of these different conversations of what these songs are about, but throughout the entirety of the album, it is still a brilliant experience. There are some repeating words that will be mentioned in the continuation of the review here, but I am really curious to know what you think of these songs and the album down in the comments below. The album opens with the song Mysterons. The song's title was taken after the classic 60s show of Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons. Besides talking about Adrian, Jeff and Beth, there are other musicians who have been doing their own separate contributing parts for this album, as I will give them the credit as well. Mysterons opens with the samples of noises, of scratching, Clive Dreamer's frantic drum beat, Adrian's ghostly theremin and his guitar playing, and the cozy bass. It starts the album in such a deeply unsettling and ethereal way. The atmosphere is eerie and beautiful at the same time. Beth's vocals were expressive and fantastic during the melancholic instrumentation. The opening lyrics in verse 1 simply describes about an antagonist who committed some crimes, but they are hidden from history, never to be seen. So the story of these crimes have to be made up, which makes things completely difficult to uncover them, because there's some hidden truth behind these crimes. But with the second verse onwards, along with tons of what the rest of the album lyrically is going to be like, it's on different themes in relationships. The second verse is the starting moment about a relationship that's trying to be strong, but it's not been very positive. The word ocean was written metaphorically, hence with the lyric that it won't be grasped. The third verse shows the breaking apart moment of the relationship. Strung out could possibly mean either the takings of drugs or alcohol, or the damaging mentally part of the relationship. The last two lyrics, however, could be a hint to try and keep it going, no matter what anyone else thinks about it, because the public would react negatively and they want the relationship to end. So instead of forcing the relationship to end, the couple decide to sort things out. Mr. Ron's, to me, is such a stunning opening song to begin the album. Sour Times is one of the highlights on the album. To me, it's a no-brainer that loads of people will think of this as an instantly recognizable gem of this album's single. It's one of the best because as soon as you hear the bass lines to the guitar effects, they start things in a tone that's like you're in a spy noir detective type of setting. It's one of the classics because of the popular hook, as well as with Beth's wonderful vocal melodies and delivery. Neil Solman makes his contribution on the Rhodes piano and the Hammond organ. There are two samples to this song, Lilo Schifrin's The Danube Incident and Smokey Brooks's Spin It Jig. Throughout the lyrics of this song, they express loneliness but also an emotional state of vulnerability. The first line of verse 1 sounds like someone pretending to be in love and hiding their flaws. It opens things in a symbolic way because it connects with the next lyric. The imagery shows us something that's attractive, like the written lyric of Morning Rose. The Morning Rose is a bride reference and a symbol of marriage, but obviously this is not a song about marriage. Forbidden Fruit and Hidden Eyes describe the truth of life when things get very difficult. The woman in the song doesn't like the thought of being polite to anyone or learning the manner. Obviously, when you go into a conversation, you'll be sharing your manners to one another. But others, like her in the song, decide to say whatever she wants to say. She wants to speak her mind, but she's stuck with the politeness. The chorus expresses doubt of believing in a relationship that's truthful. There's a difference between her and her other half through the experience of her unhealthy relationship. The second line is an interpretation of either her dreaming of what a relationship should be and what she wants, or the understanding of love that isn't real. She finds peace for herself, but she kept the thought of nobody loving her like this person she's currently with. The second verse could mean an act of infidelity. Loads of people made this theory that it is about infidelity as a whole in this song's subject matter. She decides to go into a relationship with a different person, thinking that cheating isn't wrong, but she's still feeling these same ways, not expecting a change of improvements. However, in her mind, she's still in love with the person she's with. The bridge instantly points out her negative mindset, questioning herself and her purpose, while she's not having any of the care at all. The last verse continues the infidelity. Scattered Seeds could maybe reference the moment of her cheating with a man. All she wanted to do in her time was to be with a man who'll give her as much of the respect and the acquiring love. Strangers as a song is another masterpiece song. It's one of Portishead's greatest songs. The beat on this one is so attractive and creatively original, spooky and groovy. The balance of Beth's sublime vocal and vibrato skills with the listening of these rhythmic hooks it works perfectly. Strangers samples weather reports, Elegant People, and Eddie Harris's Wait Please. They have been great additions to the composition. It's one of the other highlights, like on the first two songs. The lyrics continue the same emotions as before from Sour Times. The verses reflect the struggles of trying to recover after a breakup while a person goes into a new relationship, trying to find peace and to move forward after the breakup and hoping for a fresh start. We all have our ways of experiences, feelings, and thoughts, and our points of view. We could share them to other people, but there's the uncertainty between two people, making a distance apart from each other, making both of them strangers. But there's the other way round that, because whatever the differences are, they have a purpose as well as the individualism. So hopefully these pieces fit together. If there's a connection growing to be in a relationship, then they're not strangers. Each verse show the symbolisms of what the person's going to anticipate for a better direction. The downside to a new relationship is the fear of hurting these emotions again and to have all of this time completely wasted. The chorus shows the doubtful feelings and questioning the reality if the relationship is going to go ahead. It opens the uncomfortable fragility of wanting to fall in love again without having the flaws, the lack of confidence, and to embrace what's going to become. It could be sweet. I have always adored this song every single time I listen to it. The song begins with Jeff's simplistic chords, and they are gentle and minimal. The programmed drums ease into the music so calmly. The best part of the song was Beth's vocals. Her voice sounded really close to the mic, but she's full of soul, and it's one of my biggest favourite songs on here because of her performances. First two lines of lyrics share the thought of protecting the one you love, but you wouldn't feel comfortable with yourself because of the insecurity. The person in the song is feeling worried of losing the love or having the anxiety if the relationship will be ending, which would increase this negative fight or flight response. He's wrongly accusing her of a romantic crime she didn't commit. She becomes uncomfortable with fear by it, so the relationship is taking its toll while she's fighting back what he said. On the first pre-chorus, it reveals the truth of the relationship being created with insecurity. The love wasn't strong, so she's anticipating all of what went down to deteriorate. While having the fear of everything to end, she wants to tell and explain about their problems and future as a couple. The choruses open themselves about the addressing of these insecurities before helping each other and to know what is right. A sense of growing maturity. Or sometimes when people try and sort things out, most of the time they'll turn their backs, walk away. In the second verse, most of the time being in love is kept between the two of them, and they don't need the company of anyone else. It doesn't fully communicate properly if other people would think their relationship is not as expressive and heartfelt, but it's obviously on the choice of the couple. The relationship has been made with their choice, no matter what they think. The second pre-chorus opens up the pain of what went down from a previous nostalgic, reflective relationship. There were memories, but sadly, their past involved these flaws. So the happiness of what was once there ended up being difficult, and it's not worth coming back to. Bridge section lyrically makes us think about our ways of thinking with our fearful thoughts. What happened previously is a moment from the past, but they'll come back in reality by repeating these same problems like a rumination loop. These problems continuing over and over again and not stopping. In order to keep the love and validation strong, we have to trust each other grow the confidence, but if it doesn't, then we're stuck with these same fears and doubts. Hence the lyric about our single minds being tangled. Wandering star. The very low notes from the chords sound unsettling. Clive comes back with his drum beats, and his beat matches the instrumentation. It's chilling, with the record scratching too. The brief Hammond organs played with Gary Baldwin being involved. Towards the end of the song, the Hammond organs sounded haunting. Beth's vocals sound, once again, it's like very close to the microphone, but it's like she's singing really close to your ear. It's just irresistible. I love her tone so much. It has the sample of the war song Magic Mountain. We take things into a deeper toll lyrically on depression. The first verse talks about people feeling depressed without a reason why. They feel that way without a choice. There are lots of people who are depressed and they think about the inevitable by not existing as a way of escapism and a form of release from reality's pain. The chorus comes out with an allusion to a Bible's Jude passage, God speaking about consequences that are ungodly from people's actions. The first two lines in the second verse continue these biblical parts, possibly be a quote from Jesus with the lyric of needle's eye, or a reference to the Jewish aphorism, as needle's eyes being the inner thought of a man's heart or God's omnipresence, with the truth of recognizing something as false. The word monsters was written about people who manipulate others by wearing an invisible mask, by giving their chance to get their target, feeding their negativity to their prey. The third verse goes back to the same feelings as addressed from the first verse. Being doubled up means if a person has been feeling the sorrow in deep pain, while someone is feeling alright on the outside, the truth is hidden on the inside by keeping their depression to themselves. Numb. The song's instrumentation is kind of like some industrial sound because of that high-pitched clank of a snare. To me, it's like you're hitting a big beer keg. The Hammond organ comes back with its horrifying personality of tones. The production on this song is immaculate. Beth's change of tone all the time makes me think of the vocals from Björk because of Beth's vocal style completing the arrangement. Björk being another one of my big favourite solo artists of all time. All the way through this song lyrically, it's returning back to the previous themed lyrics on loneliness, but on this one, it's on Beth's point of view, sharing her perspective. She would do anything to help herself, like to be with other people, to socialize, to try and interact, finding a better time to change her mood. But how she feels on the inside just made things difficult, because in the later lyrics, it's about the choice of being lonely, to isolate herself away. She wants to try and get away from that feeling of being lonely. It has been repetitive, and yet she would say in the end she's used to it. Rhodes. The way these chords were structured and performed sounded excellent on the Rhodes piano. There are other instruments involved in this one with heartfelt strings. Adrian's wah-wah guitar joins in during the song's continuation. Dave McDonald with the nose flute. Beth's vocals sound so emotional. It's like she's about to burst into tears. This song is about these definitions of isolation and numbness. The turmoil of the loneliness grows, and not everyone would think about anyone else expressing their true feelings. The water fight description could mean in different ways, being a fight for life as a whole or a person's own war to fight it. As the lyric "We've got a water fight" says, it could mean the interpretation of everybody else fighting their wars of life. People would be finding it difficult to find their ways to lead themselves to somewhere better, try and find a road to cross to the next destination through life's obstacles. The word storm is a common word metaphorically for mental health troubles. Maybe the storm written in this song could mean about the storm covering the happiness, cycle of low mood, lack of motivation, and not thinking for a purpose. There's also the solitude, while time continues to move forward. Pedestal. The beat on this song always takes me back to some kind of nostalgic moment when I was getting into the hip-hop genre. This beat makes me think of a beat from either the late 80s to early 90s. It is a unique and inspired combination to hear a classic hook and blend it with the modern style of production techniques and mixing with these sounds. It is fascinating. Adrian plays so effectively with the bass guitar on this one. It was made into an acid jazz style piece with the involvement of Andy Haig's trumpet playing, which is wonderful. It's such a chill out and resonating piece. The lyrics go into the heartbreaking moments of being left behind and abandoned, resulting in inner turmoil. The entire set of lyrics have been written metaphorically, basically the simple meaning about the searching for meaning during this traumatic time. It is as painfully emotional, and loads of people have been victimized in that way, and it is just tragic. The title of the song, Pedestal, is another word for symbolism. You're being put on a pedestal while you're surrounded in such an uncomfortable, dark place with questions that have been left unanswered. The penultimate song, Biscuit. This song's pacing makes me feel like I want to just get lost into the music and feel the vibe. Its delivery involves the sample of Johnny Ray's I'll Never Fall in Love Again. It sounds so desolating when we hear the sampled music. It felt so anxious from these crackling vinyl sounds along with Beth's very sad voice. From the start of the whole subject matter, it immediately presents us this mood of despair and reflection, feeling the desperation to get away after the previous times of love, pain, and yearning. The lyrics are repeating the vulnerability of trying so hard to escape from the turmoil, but to no avail. Having a hard time to express these feelings and herself. In the chorus, she wants to communicate with anyone emotionally through sex, but that did not help at all because her actions of sexual desires made her become a slave, to which people would think of that as a sin. The final song, Glory Box. This one is powerful, relevant, and meaningful. What a magnum opus song for Portishead to conclude the album on a high. It is predictable, but I will say this now. This is Portishead's greatest song. The music is warm, and what I love the most about this song are two things: the deep texture and the melody that's mesmerizing. It's a slower paced finale with beauty. It has Isaac Hayes' Ike's Rap 2 being sampled. You hear the distorting electric wah-wah guitar going all out in some kind of trippy sounding way, while Beth's vocals soar. The iconic chorus is perfect. Her style, doing these different pitches and the way she sings on this song is outstanding. You can have your own views and interpretations of what you think of this song, but this is some of Beth's best lyric writing ever. The first verse starts as the lack of interest of ideas on how men dominate love and how women have been making themselves attractive for them because of their looks and appearance, being like sex objects. A woman has had enough of being used by men, so she wants to take a stand against them, to not be a victim any longer. The iconic chorus lyrically asks a simple question, and yet it's quite a confrontational one, asking for a sign of respect, to accept her as a person. She wants to be accepted for her individuality. It's also a question of wanting to maybe ask for a connected relationship. In the second verse, it metaphorically describes how society can make a form of equality and opportunities to say, think, and be completely open without any negativity. The third verse is asking for men to look outside of what they've been doing to reveal the truth. Some other wordplay will be making us think about how men have been expressing themselves. They will be around in the outside world to not show their true feelings other than some negative frame of mind and fake reactions. But there is one part of the third verse in the last lines that it's okay to be sharing your emotions. It's okay to cry while you're being in a countercultural way of society. The bridge lyrics tells us about becoming free from being targeted as I said, like a sex object, being victimized, to not look back from these same repetitive actions of what happened previously, showing these signs of empowerment and motivation. What a perfect song to finish Dummy from what we've heard from the start all the way to the finish. Glory Box is simply one of those other incredible songs that still means a lot to the listeners. Overall, Dummy by Portishead is a big must-have album for anyone who wants to get into trip-hop and for 1990s in general. There's been a ton of these classic legendary albums from the decade that still get talked about from then to this day. Portishead's debut is simply one of the greatest. I would still find this album completely rewarding because of all of the detail, the production, the blood, sweat and tears from the trio and the other musicians who have worked as professionally for the album. It can be something different for you at first. It will be completely worth it. It is as a distinctive, significant album from the 90s, and it's all perfection from beginning to end. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.